Levack and Goss here with you on 104.5 The Team, and joining us on the phone lines now. You can hear him on First and Last here on 104.5 The Team, and on those mornings, Golic and Wingo on 104.5 The Team. It is Mike Golic Jr. And Mike, let's get into yesterday. The Ocho, man. The Ocho, these crazy broadcasts with dodgeball and chess boxing. What did you enjoy most about covering the Ocho yesterday on ESPN?
I enjoyed getting to watch it while I worked. So I've been filling in on the Dan Levack show the last couple of days, which is on our air 10 to 1 Eastern. And so I was there during the meat of the Ocho programming. And so with that show, as often happens, you get pretty distracted with the staff there. And we went off on a lot of Ocho-related tangents. I mean, watching the cheese roll down the hill. I caught midday sumo wrestling. And then the best part about all of it is a lot of this stuff was filmed in like the 90s. So you're getting 1995-esque standard definition television throughout all of this. It's just so vintage and wonderful. I couldn't get enough.
Was there anything that you thought watching it, I can do this and be great at it? Maybe rock, paper, scissors?
Well, so I got to do rock, paper, scissors against my dad on air, which, let me tell you, rich and compelling radio for our audience listening at that point, as I absolutely decimated the old man in rock, paper, scissors. But that was the means of deciding every argument my entire life with my younger brother, Jake. So that's the one I'm probably most qualified to. The one I am definitely most afraid of is the cheese roll, because I saw some catastrophic injuries in the name of hawking down some cheese that I could get at the grocery store.
I'm a little upset because I would say you're almost the godfather of the trick shot challenge back at your Notre Dame days. They can't get this on there yet? Like, that should be your event, I feel like.
Trick Shot Monday would be an outstanding addition to the Ocho slate of programming. The beautiful part is this is year 2, and they're open to suggestion. I was fortunate enough with Jason Fitz, one of my colleagues, to cut a bunch of the promo videos that kind of got people hyped for the Ocho. So maybe next year I'll get a little more programming leverage, be able to kind of suggest some things. And you guys are absolutely right. I'm going to suggest Trick Shot Monday, try and rally back the old gang, because that would be the height of entertainment. You let us do that in the Bristol headquarters out here with all the spots we have to work with, game over.
The Tom Brady of Trick Shot Monday, Mike Golic Jr. joining us here on the phone lines on 104.5 The Team. Let's go back to your Notre Dame days. We just finished our training camp tour. We got one more left to go. And the one thing I thought about, back to the old college football days when you played at Notre Dame, there were double sessions. But now college football has changed to where teams will have to go a week earlier than usual to kind of offset the no double sessions anymore. Back in your days, what would you rather have had? A double session practice or going to camp a week early?
Give me the doubles every time. And the thing about it is the college football calendar is such a year-round animal now that any chance you have to just get away from campus for a little bit is such a welcome respite. You don't get a lot of the normal breaks that the student body gets. Depending on when your schedule lines up with spring football, you may not be getting a spring break like everybody else. Depending on when your bowl game is, you're not getting a full allotment of time home for Christmas break. I mean, you're hopeful your season goes well into January, in which case you're really starting to encroach on that prospect. That week before training camp is such a great mental health week in the past, when we were able to just get away for a few days, go back home, rest and relax, get a little bit of that home cooking. And now to remove that, I mean, I talked to players and coaches who were getting ready to go through it. The coaches felt this. I mean, their calendar is just as full. And for really what you're eliminating, if there's a concrete way to show that you are limiting the amount of injuries that would take place, I'm all for things that are going to limit injuries in players. But I look at what we had to deal with. The double sessions were never that brutal. In the afternoon, it's usually a much shorter practice. You're usually in half pads. They did a lot of things to make that as really low maintenance as possible and not kill us, because they have us for the entire year. You know they're in shape. You know you're in the system. You're just trying to get more reps in. To me, this seems like one step forward and 2 steps back for what they're really trying to accomplish.
We were joking around that we were in New Jersey, Rochester, New York, and Foxborough, Massachusetts in the span of like 96 hours. And we genuinely forgot what day it was. We ran a Wednesday Y segment on a Tuesday because we felt like we were the players again. When you were in camp, does the dates and the days of the week and everything else go away and you're just so laser focused on football?
The only thing you acknowledge for the passage of time during training camp is the sound of an air horn. And I don't know what role air horns were going to play in the rest of my life, but they are a haunting reminder of what used to be the wake-up call, the transition between periods, getting off the field. It was everything. It was the worst part of your day and the best part of your day in some instances. And it's so funny you guys mentioned that. Kyle Rudolph, who was my teammate at Notre Dame, one of my roommates there, and has now been a tight end for the Minnesota Vikings, going on like 8 years now. It's insane that Rude is the old man in the building there. but I was talking to him last weekend. So they're like 2 or 3 days into training camp, and Kyle's texting us all like, man, I already forgot what day it is. Like, it really does not take long into training camp for you to just completely abandon normal timekeeping methods.
You can hear him on First and Last and Golic and Wingo right here on 104.5. The team, Mike Golic Jr. joins us here on the phone lines.
And Mike, we're coming up on fantasy football season. We're already in fantasy football season. Drafts are underway. You can go to ESPN.com and join your public league. And is there a player that you find yourself taking in a lot of drafts this year, a player that you really like in your fantasy football drafts?
Yeah, one that I've really been interested in, and obviously as a former offensive lineman, and understanding the fantasy landscape, running backs are going to be your bell cows. They're going to be the guys that go near the top of the draft. But I always look at where can I get some value at that position. And a guy I'm really interested in this year is Jordan Howard. You look at that group, certainly offensively, Matt Nagy's going to bring that system that we saw in Kansas City, kind of what we saw last year in Doug Peterson, another Andy Reid coaching tree guy, and Mitch Trubisky, who's going to take another step. But you expect there to be some wrinkles to this offense that are going to give running backs a chance. But I also look at what they gained on the offensive line. And Harry Hiestand, their new offensive line coach, was my offensive line coach my last year at Notre Dame. I think he was the best O-line coach in college football the last few years. The O-line there last year won the Joe Moore Award that's given to the best unit in college football. And I think that uptick in what they're gaining from a coaching standpoint, which, listen, we can talk about offensive line epidemics in the NFL. A lot of it is driven by the fact that when you get to that level, there are only, like there are great head coaches and quarterbacks, only a handful of really great talent developers at that position. And I think the Bears really got one, and I think that alone is going to pay such dividends for their run game that Jordan Howard, a guy that really hasn't needed a ton of help, has already been highly productive, I think only gets better as they introduce some more running back passing elements to that offense and inject, I think, what is some of the best coaching in the NFL to the group in front of him.
Now let's go to the opposite end of the spectrum. Who are you avoiding in drafts? Whose price tag is just a little bit too high on draft day?
You know what? And this is one, I said this the other day, too. I feel bad because I feel like this is a guy that people got all hopped up on, hope on, and the things that are going to limit him are going to be things that should. And it's Josh Gordon. You hear, I've heard so many people talking about him higher in drafts when really we know so little about the situation surrounding him, and that's out of fairness to him. This is a delicate situation. This is a personal situation about him and his health, but in a football sense, a lot of his presence there is tied to how successful these people think that this Browns offense can be and what he can factor in a fantasy season. We know the ceiling is otherworldly high. We just still have no idea when and how often we're going to be able to see this guy on the field. And so I've already heard it seems like people willing to reach a little bit on a guy that, forget just the normal wild card of players in an offense like Cleveland that is such a still mystery to us. This guy with everything added to it just seems to me a place that needs to be probably shied away from.
You can hear him on First and Last and Golic and Wingo right here on 104.5. The team, he is Mike Golic Jr., and Mike will get you out on this. Just remember, if Trick Shot Monday becomes a thing next Ocho 2019, we would like to represent the Albany team. We're not too far away from Bristol. We would like to be in that tournament. We'll put the pledge out there for it, okay?
Absolutely. The Albany delegation is going to be a welcome addition to this tournament. I have no doubt you guys will be a strong showing.
Appreciate the time, man. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.